Fun fact, in the Ready Player One universe, the OASIS officially launches on December 8th, 2025, which just so happens to be the same day I am uploading this video. Ready Player One imagined a virtual reality future that actually feels believable, something that real technology companies could be working on in the next decade. Sword Art Online imagined a virtual reality future that only works if you ignore technology, misunderstand neuroscience, and treat software design as if it were magic. Ready Player One built its world on real innovation. Sword Art Online built its world on shortcuts, plot conveniences, and a total detachment from how technology or common sense actually works. The OASIS is built on extensions of technology that already exists today. Everything from virtual reality headsets to motion tracking, haptic feedback suits, and cloud-based game worlds are real, developing technologies. None of it requires bending the laws of physics or rewriting human biology. In contrast, Sword Art Online relies on technology that is impossible, unsafe, or completely unsupported by science. Full-dive neural interfaces that can hijack your brain, render perfect sensory illusions, and even threaten your life are far beyond anything our technology could achieve and may always remain so. In this video, we are going to break it all down. We will look at the hardware that powers each world, the software that drives them, the ways society interacts with these virtual spaces, and even the economics that make them sustainable or not. By the end, it will become clear that only one of these worlds, the OASIS, could realistically exist, while the other is nothing more than a fantasy that ignores every rule of reality. The OASIS is built on technology that either already exists or is in active development. Virtual reality headsets like the MetaQuest, Valve Index, and Apple Vision provide immersive experiences today, giving users sight and sound in virtual worlds. Motion tracking rigs and haptic devices, such as omnidirectional treadmills, haptic gloves, and full-body suits, already allow players to physically interact with games in a convincing way. Brain-computer interfaces, while still in their early stages, are moving toward a future where our thoughts could influence digital environments directly. The key point is that none of the technology in the OASIS violates any physical laws. It is all an extension of existing engineering and computing advances, something that could realistically exist within the next decade or two. Sword Art Online's Nerve Gear, on the other hand, is a whole different story. The device is described as a full-dive neural interface capable of hijacking every signal in the human brain, perfectly replacing sensory input with a virtual world. Current neuroscience is nowhere near achieving this. Blocking brain signals and replacing them with artificial input in a safe, accurate, and complete way is beyond anything we can even theorize. To make matters worse, the Nerve Gear is also capable of killing its users by emitting lethal microwaves into their brains if they fail in-game. This is not just improbable. It is physically impossible as described, and terrifyingly unsafe even if it were technically feasible. Sword Art Online essentially requires total neurological takeover, a level of technology that belongs to science fiction, not reality. The contrast is stark. The OASIS represents incremental, plausible technological progress. Every piece of hardware exists on a spectrum from prototypes to products we already use. Sword Art Online, meanwhile, is pure magic wrapped in a thin veneer of sci-fi. The Nerve Gear is not just improbable. It is impossible by our current understanding of science. In short, the OASIS is the kind of future we can actually build. Sword Art Online is a fantasy that ignores physics, biology, and common sense. The OASIS is more than just a game. It is a fully realized virtual universe that mirrors real-world social and economic structures. People use it for multiple aspects of daily life, including work, school, commerce, and entertainment. Virtual offices and collaboration spaces allow people to conduct business remotely. Meetings, conferences, and creative collaborations can happen entirely inside the OASIS. Educational programs, virtual campuses, and training simulations make learning accessible and immersive, offering experiences that traditional classrooms cannot. Players can buy, sell, and trade virtual goods, services, and real estate, creating economies complete with digital currencies and marketplaces. Concerts, games, sports, and immersive experiences keep the population engaged and socially connected. Essentially, the OASIS functions as an internet with virtual reality immersion. Every element, from corporate presence and advertising to microtransactions and user-driven marketplaces, is plausible and already being explored in real life. The world of the Oasis aligns perfectly with the way society adopts new technology incrementally, safely, and with clear economic incentives. Sword Art Online imagines a society where a single game becomes a life-or-death environment. A game as a life replacement is completely unrealistic for several reasons. No government in the world would allow technology capable of killing its citizens to exist. Safety standards, ethics, and legal oversight make Sword Art Online's premise impossible. Unlike the Oasis, there is no functional economy in Sword Art Online. Players cannot earn a living, buy real-world goods, or integrate virtual labor into society. The game has no purpose beyond survival and combat. It exists as a closed, lethal fantasy world without practical applications for work, education, or social interaction. The contrast between the two worlds is stark. The Oasis fits how society actually adopts and integrates technology. It expands human activity, commerce, learning, and entertainment in ways that are plausible and achievable. Sword Art Online, by contrast, completely contradicts the way societies regulate, use, and benefit from technology. It is a world built for drama, spectacle, and tension rather than realism. The Oasis would attract users because it mirrors the virtual worlds we already see in platforms like VR Chat, Roblox, Fortnite, and other social VR spaces. These platforms demonstrate that people enjoy immersive environments where they can interact, collaborate, and play with others from all over the world. The Oasis takes this to the next level, offering a massive, fully realized universe where identity, creativity, and social interaction are limitless. Users can experiment with different avatars, explore diverse worlds, join communities, or create their own content. It encourages collaboration and creativity rather than isolation. People are drawn to the Oasis because it provides meaningful ways to connect, express themselves, and participate in a shared culture, all in a safe and controlled environment. Sword Art Online's concept, on the other hand, would never be sanctioned in real life. The so-called full-dive technology that hijacks the brain at every level is far too invasive to be ethically or legally acceptable. The risks of psychological trauma alone would make it unthinkable to allow such a device outside of fiction. Players in Sword Art Online face life-or-death stakes, which removes any practical purpose beyond pure entertainment and survival. Unlike the Oasis, it does not integrate with society or provide meaningful applications for work, learning, or social engagement. Modern society does not adopt technology that threatens autonomy or personal safety, and no government, company, or community would permit a system that could harm its users in such extreme ways. Sword Art Online exists purely as a fantasy designed for tension and drama, not as a vision of a plausible virtual world. The Oasis represents the logical next step in the evolution of the internet. It builds on technology that already exists and combines it in ways that enhance how we work, learn, socialize, and play. Virtual reality, haptic feedback, cloud computing, and digital economies are all real innovations, and the Oasis extrapolates these trends into a future that feels not only possible but inevitable. It is a vision of technology that aligns with human behavior, societal needs, and the incremental way innovations are adopted in the real world. Sword Art Online, by contrast, belongs more to the realm of fantasy than plausible technology. Its full-dive neural interfaces, life-or-death stakes, and total neurological hijacking break every rule of how technology evolves. It relies on impossible inventions, unsafe practices, and a world that could never pass ethical, legal, or practical scrutiny. It is not a realistic projection of the future of virtual reality. In essence, the difference could not be clearer. One is grounded in reality, building on existing trends to create a believable and achievable future. The other ignores science, common sense, and societal constraints to deliver an impossible fantasy. The Oasis is a world we could someday live in. Sword Art Online is a world that will never be real. Overall, Ready Player One is just a far superior story compared to Sword Art Online. To make this clear, here's a direct comparison between the two. The difference could not be starker, and it is why Ready Player One stands far above Sword Art Online in every meaningful way.
With Ernest Cline's new Ready Player 2 novel coming out, I decided to revisit the Ready Player 1 movie that came out in 2018, and it's just as good as I remembered it to be. Ready Player 1 was easily one of my favorite movies of 2018, and I really enjoyed it. Ready Player 1 is honestly everything the Sword Art Online anime series should have been. Unlike Sword Art Online, Ready Player 1 has great characters, an interesting story, awesome action, amazing visuals, and it focuses on the gaming aspect. It really is a shame because it's not like Sword Art Online had a lack of budget, or it didn't have any talented people working on it. Everything was there to make a good anime, but the end result was very disappointing. It was definitely a big waste of potential. Even if you like Sword Art Online, you've got to admit that it was nowhere near as good as it could have or should have been. The author of Sword Art Online, Reki Kawahara, agrees with that statement as well, hence why he's rewriting the Aincrad arc of Sword Art Online, and going for a floor-by-floor approach. Maybe the Sword Art Online progressive movie will fix all the problems that were present in the original series, but until that comes out, I'll continue to be let down and disappointed in the Sword Art Online anime. It's inferior to Ready Player 1 in pretty much every way imaginable. Here's why Ready Player 1 worked and Sword Art Online failed. Oh, and I'll also do a review of Ready Player 1 afterwards, so make sure to stick around after the comparison part is over, if you're interested in watching that. Anyways, let's get started. The Ready Player 1 movie and the Sword Art Online anime series are both very similar, but the main difference is that Ready Player 1 has gotten mostly positive reception from critics and audiences alike, while Sword Art Online is quite literally the most hated anime series of all time. So how did this happen? Why do people love Ready Player 1 but hate Sword Art Online? Ready Player 1 never loses focus. Every scene, every character interaction, and every line of dialogue is there to further the plot, and help the characters reach the final goal of finding all 3 keys to win the Easter egg hunt. There's really not a single wasted moment in the entire movie. Sword Art Online, on the other hand, has no idea what it wants to be. There's some interesting ideas present, but unfortunately it's very poorly executed, and quickly goes downhill after just episode 2. There's so many filler episodes and pointless subplots after episode 2 that have nothing to do with the main goal of clearing the death game. Then after 14 poorly paced episodes with several time skips, everything that was set up is completely abandoned, and the characters go inside another game. Somehow this following arc turns out to be even worse than the Aincrad arc. It's like a buy one get one free pack of bad shows. They could have easily made over 100 episodes from just the first game alone. The characters in Ready Player 1 are easily better written than the characters in Sword Art Online. The main protagonist of Sword Art Online, Kirito, is just way too overpowered. He doesn't have any weaknesses or flaws, and easily overcomes any and all challenges that he encounters. The main appeal of the Sword Art Online anime is the high-stakes death game, and it's just boring watching Kirito because there's no tension at all. You know that he's not in any real danger and he's definitely not going to die. So what's the point? The main protagonist of Ready Player 1, Parzival, is far from perfect. He struggles at a lot of things and has plenty of character flaws. It's really interesting and entertaining to watch Parzival overcome his character flaws and grow as a character. Furthermore, the villains in Sword Art Online are terrible. You have a guy who can't even remember why he killed thousands of innocent people. You have a crazy guy, and oh look, another guy. I'm sure a middle schooler could write more compelling villains. A big portion of Ready Player 1 takes place inside the Oasis, and a big portion of Sword Art Online takes place in a couple different virtual reality MMORPGs. Therefore, the games themselves need to be interesting and engaging for the viewer. You definitely get that for Ready Player 1. The Oasis itself looks really fun to play. You can pretty much do anything and everything you can think of. The possibilities are endless. As a viewer, I can totally understand why the characters in Ready Player 1 enjoy playing the Oasis so much. The games in Sword Art Online are just awful. They look really boring and bland. I can see the games getting really repetitive and dull after just a few hours of gameplay. As a viewer, I can't really understand why the characters in Sword Art Online enjoy playing the game so much. Well, as you can see, that's why Ready Player 1 worked and Sword Art Online failed. And now that the comparison part is over, here's my review of the Ready Player 1 movie. Enjoy! Ready Player 1 is a 2018 American science fiction adventure movie. It's produced and directed by Steven Spielberg. The movie is written by Zach Penn and Ernest Cline, and it's based on Ernest Cline's 2011 novel of the same name. Ready Player 1 stars Ty Sheridan, Olivia Cook, Ben Mendelsohn, TJ Miller, Simon Pegg, and Mark Rylance. The movie is set in the year 2045 with the world on the brink of chaos and collapse, but the people have found salvation in the Oasis, an expansive virtual reality universe created by the brilliant and eccentric James Halliday. When Halliday dies, he leaves his immense fortune to the first person to find a digital Easter egg that he has hidden somewhere in the Oasis, sparking a contest that grips the entire world. When an unlikely young hero named Wade Watts decides to join the contest, he is hurled into a breakneck, reality-bending treasure hunt through a fantastical universe of mystery, discovery, and danger. I personally have not read the book that this movie is based on, so this review will be from the perspective of someone who's not familiar with the book. I will not be comparing the movie to the book in this review or anything like that. I will just be reviewing the movie itself. I had an absolute blast watching this movie. It was a fun ride from the beginning until the end. Honestly, there wasn't much that I disliked about the movie. This was a beautiful movie to look at from just a visual standpoint alone. When the characters were inside the Oasis, it actually looked pretty realistic. It didn't look like a video game at all. I'm sure you already know this, but the movie was loaded with Easter eggs and other pop culture references. I don't really know the exact amount, but it was definitely hundreds and hundreds of Easter eggs and other pop culture references. For example, we saw the Iron Giant, Tracer from Overwatch, the DeLorean from the Back to the Future franchise, Kaneda's bike from Akira, Minecraft, Halo, Batman, King Kong, and even Gundam, just to name a few. Warner Brothers must have spent a ton of money just on licensing rights alone. This movie is basically a pop culture lover's dream come true. You could spend hours and hours trying to find every single Easter egg and pop culture reference in the movie. Something that I really enjoyed about the movie is that the Easter eggs and other pop culture references aren't just there to be there. It's not a meaningless reference or anything like that. They actually serve a purpose in the story. For example, the DeLorean isn't just there to be in the movie for no reason. It's in the movie because Wade/Parzival actually drives it. There's even this one part in the movie where the characters literally go inside another movie. I won't spoil which movie it is that they go into, but that was pretty awesome to watch. Seriously, how often do you see characters in one movie go inside of another movie? Not very often, I'm sure. If you've seen the movie already, I think you know what I'm talking about. Additionally, this movie does a fantastic job capturing the thrill and excitement of playing a massive virtual reality online game. The Oasis itself was just mind-blowing. You can literally do anything, go anywhere, and be anyone. It is wish fulfillment to the max. It is a gamer's ideal fantasy. If you play video games, I'm sure that you'll love everything about the Oasis. Even if you don't play any video games, I'm sure that you can still feel a sense of wonder and awe whenever you see the characters inside the Oasis. Furthermore, the action sequences were just amazing. It was like you're on a roller coaster ride. Every single action scene was just absolutely breathtaking and jaw-dropping, especially the final fight scene towards the end of the movie. That was probably one of the best large-scale fight scenes in any movie, period. Steven Spielberg directing this movie was a great choice. He knows exactly how to capture the magic and adventure of a movie. I did not feel bored at all during this movie's entire runtime. I will say that when the characters were not inside the Oasis, it did get a little slow. I just wish that they would go back inside because the real world is so boring and dull. The Oasis, on the other hand, is much more interesting. But you know, that does make sense in the story. That's why the people inside the movie enjoy the Oasis so much. It's because the real world is so boring and uneventful, and they can escape to another reality. Also, there are quite a few plot conveniences in the movie. You do sort of have to suspend your disbelief a little, but you pretty much have to do that with a lot of movies, so it's not like this is anything too different. Furthermore, the acting in this movie was fantastic. All the actors fit their roles perfectly. None of the actors felt miscast. None of the actors did a bad job at all. Ty Sheridan does a great job playing the lead character Wade Watts/Parzival. I'm sure that a lot of people can really relate to him because he's just an average guy. He's your typical teenage gamer. He's no one special, he's just like you and me. Also, Olivia Cooke did a great job playing Artemis. Her character worked well with Ty Sheridan's character. They have some great on-screen chemistry together. I would say that Mark Rylance's performance as James Halliday is pretty much perfect. He's really awkward and nerdy, and you can really feel for him and understand why he's doing all this and why he created the Oasis in the first place. Additionally, Ben Mendelsohn was just fantastic as Nolan Sorrento. He plays an evil corporate business guy and he's just perfect for that role. When I imagine an evil corporate business guy, he's the first actor that comes to mind. He's great as a villain. He even looks menacing and sinister. The other supporting characters were great as well. For example, TJ Miller voices this one character and he was pretty hilarious even though he's trying to be serious. I will say that as a negative, the characters overall don't really have too much of a backstory. You really only get to know a little bit about them and why they're doing what they're doing. Despite all that, most of the characters are still very likable and believable. You still can pretty much understand their motivations and their reasonings behind everything. Overall, I enjoyed pretty much everything about Ready Player One. The movie is not perfect and I did have a few minor gripes as I mentioned in the review, but overall it's still an excellent and fun movie. I highly recommend this movie. It's a fun ride from the beginning to the end. I'm pretty sure that it will be in my top 10 movies of 2018. I'm gonna give Ready Player One an A. Alright guys, that's it for my review of Ready Player One. If you've seen the movie, let me know in the comments below how you felt about it. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.